My name is Beca Lewis, and I am your facilitator. Hi. I'm your facilitator and guide for this shift session. I'm delighted to be here. I love talking about shifting perceptions, and so I'm grateful that I get to talk to you for about 30 minutes about how to do that and do some writing together and wave at you. I see everybody waving. This is really fun. So thank you for being here. So while we wait for people to join, I wanted to tell you what we're going to do. I have my little cheat sheet here so I don't leave anything out. We're going to talk about shifting perceptions, and I'm going to use writing prompts to help you do that, because knowing who we are and knowing what our perception is so important. And what we're going to do is use these little short writing prompts to find out more about who you are and what you want out of your life, how to connect with parts of yourself that need a voice that you might not even realize they need a voice, explore a little bit how language and framing can shift your perception, and uncover blind spots that limit your imagination and your curiosity and life in general. So shifting a perception only takes a second. It's only because we have so much else going on that we think it takes a long time. But even though we're going to only be here for 30 minutes or so, and you think, well, that's hardly any time, I could say something or you could figure out something that will take the whole world into another viewpoint. And that's because perceptions is what runs our world. So our beliefs and our perceptions shape our reality, and because of that, it shapes what we see outside in the world. So what I'm going to talk about, first let me just tell you how I got started doing this. A long time ago, when I was a kid, I figured out that perceptions and beliefs were what ran the world. I don't know how I figured that out, but I did, and it drove everybody crazy because I kept trying to shift people's perceptions. But back in 1992, which is like a billion years ago, I decided to start teaching about shifting perceptions, and I was trying to figure out a name for what I was doing. I didn't call it shifting perceptions at the time. I talked about the power of perceptions. I think that's what I called it. And one day I was driving in my old Carmen Ghia, and I was waiting to cross the street to go into an underground parking lot. I lived in downtown LA, and so I was going across the street to go into the parking lot, and you have to shift gears in a Carmen Ghia. And as I was shifting the gears, I had this internal awareness that the name of what my company was called The Shift. And once I figured that out, everything else kind of came into play. So the thing about perception, and why we're going to do some writing prompts, is perception has two parts. It has a point of view perception, and it has a state of mind perception. And the point of view perception is actually what produces, the best way I can say that, the world outside, because perception is a filter. Instead of it letting everything in, otherwise we'd be crazy, it filters what we believe. So back years ago when I lived in LA, I was driving down the street and I saw a red, this is an example of how perception filters. I saw a red Honda CRX, I think that's what it was then. And I said, oh, I want that. That is the car I want. And I'd never seen it before. And then for the next couple weeks while I debated whether I could actually get this car, all I saw was that car. So I know that you've all kind of experienced that, and you know what that is. So once you shift your perception, it changes the filter, and it lets in more information about what you want. But the more you shut down your perception, the less you see. So it's like having blinders on. So what we're going to do is do a little of that shifting our perceptions so that you can let more in and see more possibilities. whole idea behind this is that nothing changes until you do, and that's because nothing changes until you shift your perception. So the first step, though, so we're going to do some writing. So I hope you all have a piece of paper, here. So just get out a pen, and you're not going to write. No one's going to see it. No one's going to judge it. So just get out an old piece of paper. And what I want you to realize is that no shift of any kind can ever happen until you're willing. So think about that, how often you try to shift someone else's perception and they're not willing. Don't bother. They have to be willing, and so do you. So what I want you to do first is write this sentence. This is the only sentence I'm actually going to ask you to write that I said to write. So I want you to write, I am willing to know myself and my belief systems and shift them to something better. So just take a second and do that. And if you have any questions, I can see you down there at the bottom rolling around some little things. So if you have a question about that, actually, if you have a question the whole time I'm talking, just let it down. Write it down there and I'll try to answer it for you. So take a moment and say, you can shorthand it, but I'm willing, you're writing, I am willing to know myself and my belief systems and shift them to something better. Okay, here's the first, I think, is everybody ready? Yes, thank you for writing that so you can see what I said. If everybody's ready, we're going to start some short writing prompts, a bunch of them, as many as I can fit into 30 minutes, but you probably won't be able to write much during this, but you'll be able to watch this later, so then you can kind of pause it and write later for yourself. So the first thing I want you to do is realize that when I ask you to write something, I don't want you to think about it. I don't want you to go into your brain and go, oh my gosh, I have to write it like you're in school or something and there's some kind of grade. I want you to write as if you're feeling about it. So you might call it your heart system or your intuition or your gut, whatever it is that works for you, but how you feel about it. And you're going to do it really fast. You don't have to be able to read it. You're just going to write it. So I want you to write something about your past that just popped into your mind. Something popped into your mind. It did. I know. I've been doing this for many years. Something popped into your mind. I just want you to write down what it was that popped into your mind. A story about yourself. And then, after you make a little note what that story is, I want you to write a word or two that summarized what that story is. So I'm going to give you about 10 seconds. I'm going to keep on talking about it while you do that. And the reason we want to do this kind of thing is because even though perceptions do produce your reality, most of the time we have no idea what our perceptions are, none whatsoever. So these perceptions are either something we learned as we were growing up, something someone imposed upon us, something that we agreed to when we were 5, and it doesn't make any sense to be doing it anymore, but we still hold them around. So we don't really know what a lot of our perceptions are. So doing some kind of writing will help you recognize that. So now that you kind of know that story, I'm trusting that you're all doing that, I want you to decide to look at what you decided because of that story. Did you trip over a stone and decide you never wanted to go out walking where there were stones? Did I make this comment in one of my books? A soup can fell out of the cupboard and landed on your foot and you said, I hate soup from this point on. Or somebody was mean to you at school and you think, girls with black hair, I don't like them and you don't remember why you made that, but that's why I want you to look into your past. Okay, that's the first thing you're going to do. The second thing you're going to do is give yourself a new name. So when I said give yourself a new name, if you're open, you heard a name pop into your self. I'm trying not to use the word head because I don't want you thinking. So pick that new name. I don't care what it is. It could be George, Harry, Mabel, anything. It does not matter what name it is. And I want you to give yourself this new name because I want that person to be a witness to your perceptions. So go back to that story that you wrote very quickly a minute ago and ask the new name. So the name Sarah just popped into my head. So I'm going to pretend like I'm Sarah for a minute. I'm going to look back into the past about the story I told myself. And I'm going to say, as Sarah, I'm going to write myself a note that says that it's okay that happened. There's no judgment. You're just witnessing it. That is the key point, that you don't judge. So the reason I keep saying get out of your head is because, and I'll say this multiple times in the time we're together, the voice in your head is not who you are. Some people call it the monkey mind. Some people call it resistance. Whatever they call it, it's a liar. So the voice in your head that says to you, you're bad, you're guilty, you did this wrong, what's the matter with you, all those things that all of us hear, is not who you are. You're much more than that. We are all much more than that. But the voice in our head's job is to keep us safe. So it says these awful things to us. It keeps us safe and it keeps us stuck in a perception. So the voice in your head is not you, which is why I want you to have a witness outside yourself, your new name, saying this. All right, moving on so we can go to more questions here. The next question I want you to write about is, remember I mentioned there's two kinds of perception, point of view and state of mind. So we're going to talk about your point of view. So going back into the past again, whether it was an hour ago or a week ago or years ago, something happened and you made up your mind about it. So you can go back to the story you talked about in the beginning and look at it and say, this is what I made my mind up about. And that's what I believe from this point forward. So I talked about the soup can falling on your head, somebody bullying you, you were afraid because someone hurt me. So you made this decision that that's what your point of view was. And what I want us to do for the rest of the time that we're together is for you to be thinking about what you want your point of view to be about everything. Even though I'm going to give you some more writing prompts, I want you to look at yourself and say, if it's true that if I shift my perception, the world shifts with me, it is true. But let's just pretend you don't believe me and you're just going to go along with it. If it's true, then I might as well pick the best perception or story I can think of. So I can tell you mine. You don't have to have mine. But mine is that there's an infinite, loving creator. Call it God, call it intelligence, whatever it is. But it is infinite and it intends for all of us to be abundant, happy, and joyful. I could go on for hours about what that point of view is. That doesn't mean that I always get why I think that, but since I know my perception will filter my world, I'm going to choose that one. So I want you to be thinking in the background as we go through this is you're going to say, what do I want my perception to be? And as you go through your day and you hear yourself saying things like, I hate it when it's cold. I'm saying that because it's getting cold here. It's nothing wrong with saying it's getting cold here, but when you say I hate it when it's cold and I'm really uncomfortable, what perception have you set up? So it would be easier to say something like, it's cold here, but I don't mind it. It would be easier to live with that. Okay, so I'm going to have you take your paper and draw a line down the middle. And on one side, and you're going to do this really quickly. So on one side, you're going to write a series of memories. So you could just do one word on it and how it made you feel. So just take a second and go maybe an hour ago. Maybe you had an argument with your kid or your husband or your coworker. So that happened. How did you feel about it? And then on the other side of the paper, I want you to write as your witness. So as the new name that you just chose, I want you to write a note to yourself that's compassionate and understanding in response to that memory. So it might be, I just had an argument with my best friend, and on the other side, Sarah is going to say, oh, I understand how that can be really uncomfortable and make you not feel very good about yourself, but it's okay. And it will, and I understand. So whatever you want to say compassionately on the other side, and what we're doing is recognizing the voice in your head that's saying to you, you're wrong, you're stupid, you could have done something better, why didn't you do this? So you're just giving yourself a little out and saying, it's okay that I'm not perfect. I didn't do that perfectly, but I'm going to learn from it. Okay, I told you we're going to go really fast, so I'm watching the clock. The next thing you're going to do is you still have your paper with a column down the middle. And on the left-hand side, this is going to be fun. You're going to like this part. On the left-hand side, you're going to write things you have to do. So these are things like, I have to answer emails. I have to wash the dishes. I have to get the clothes washed before I go to bed tonight. I have to brush my teeth. I have to make that phone call. I have to, all the have tos. I know you all have a lot of I have to. So if you just take a second and write a bunch of I have tos on the left-hand side, I'm going to give you something to do with them. Maybe just 2 or 3 so I can move to the next thing. And one of the things that happens with I have tos is because it feels like outside someone said you have to do something, and depending on who we are at the moment, we often resist that, and we have a perception about it that makes it worse. So I'm going to give you a way to make it better. So on the other side of your paper, you're going to write, I'm just going to give you an example. I have to answer emails. That was the first part. Instead of saying that, you're going to say, I choose to answer emails because I value communication. Okay, so take anything you have that you have to do, and on the other side of your paper, write, I choose to wash the dishes when they're dirty, and then say why. Because I like a clean kitchen. So what you've done is shifted your perception from thinking that other people tell you how to live your life to you choosing how you live your life. And we're going to go to I choose, some more I choose things, but just take a minute and think about that. Things I have to do that you've said I have to do it because it's an outside pressure or an inside pressure, but it's still a pressure because someone expects it of you. And on the other side, you're going to say, I choose to do it. I choose to because I value. That's the sentence. So tomorrow when you're having to get up at whatever time you have to, I have to get up at that time. I choose to get up at this time because I value having time to do what I want to do. Whatever it is, that because is going to be something that's fits you, not fits me. Okay, that's that one. Just keep tomorrow, or when you get a chance, you can spend a lot more time on these. Let me give you another one. This is another way to shift your perception. So pick a current challenge. So I might say I'm stuck on figuring out what I'm going to do about my business. Maybe that's a current challenge. It could be I don't know what to do about my 12-year-old who keeps talking back to me. I have no idea what to do about my boss. I don't know how to make more money, and whatever that challenge is. I just want you to pick one. And what we're going to do is shift that. So let me just flip my page over so I so we get to that one. So your challenge is I have to do so. We're back to I'm stuck, and I want you to write on the other side of your paper or down below it. Now you don't have to have the thing down the middle. You can just write down below it. I'm stuck, but I'm learning. This is what you're doing. And I said but, and it should be, and I'm learning about how to make this work. Or, and I'll figure it out. And I'll like it later. So it's just one of those really simple perception shifts. I'm trying to give you some simple perception shifts that if you use them, you'll see that you've shifted from perception works like horse blinders, like this. So the more you are willing to, back to that willing, choose to shift it to something that works, the more opportunities appear before you. So I mean, this is not related to what I just said, but it's related to our filtering. So if you've ever gone to the grocery store and you've looked for something that you wanted to buy. The other day I was at the grocery store and I was trying to buy dates. And the last time, not dates, dates you eat. So the last time I was at the store buying dates, they were in the little clear containers. So I was standing at the store going, where are the dates? I don't see any dates. I couldn't see them because I was expecting the package to be a clear container. So when I said to myself, I shifted my perception and said, I know there's dates here. And I stopped looking for the container. I saw them. They were right in front of me. Yes, they were in a different kind of container. So the more we think that things come to us in a package that looks the way we want it to, the more blind we are. So as we shift our perception to possibilities, which is what what I'm trying to get you to, the more possibilities appear, just like the dates. Okay. All right, so here we go. I'm going to ask you, write a note for you to write a note to yourself about something that you want to achieve in this next week. And if you're in the chat, if you just stick it in there, that would be great. Or otherwise, I'm going to just make one up. So in this next week, or maybe it could be tomorrow. It doesn't have to be the week. But I don't want it to be all spread out. I want it to be a short thing. Like the next 2 days, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to make one up, the one that probably all of us have faced one time or another. So let's say that I've decided in this next week, I'm going to start going back to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. Here's the trick. Remember that voice in your head that I was talking about? This is what I want you to do, is write what you want to do. And then I want you to pause for a second and listen to the voice in your head telling you why what you want to do won't work. Don't write that part down. Just pause for a minute and listen. So I'm going to keep doing this example so you can see where this could go. So I've decided I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week from now on. And the voice in my head says, you have no time to go to the gym 3 times a week. You're already too busy. So this is what you're going to write down. This is the writing down part. You did? You just joined the gym today. Yay! Okay, so the voice in your head might be saying, but you can't keep it up. So it'll still work here. So the voice in your head says, you don't have enough time. You're going to write this. I choose, we're going back to the you choose. I choose, you're writing, I choose to have enough time. You don't have to figure out, at this point, you're not figuring out how you're going to have enough time. You're just making that choice. So I'm teasing that you said you joined the gym today, and maybe tomorrow you'll say, the voice in your head says, you can't go today because you've got to get to work early. And you're going to say, I choose to go to the gym today no matter what. But the voice in your head will say a lot of things. it will say, still using the gym analogy. Oh, but if you go to the gym, you don't know what you're doing. You'll just be stupid at the gym. You're going to say, right, I choose to know what I'm doing at the gym. But you don't have the right clothes to wear to go to the gym. You're going to say, I choose to have the right clothes to go to the gym. So what you're not doing is writing down what the voice in your head said. We're not giving it that kind of power. We're not saying, oh, I agree with you. We're saying, no, I don't agree with you. I choose to. And you might say, how's that going to work? Well, go back to perception. If my perception is I don't have enough time, and the more I say it, the more I don't have enough time. So all I have to do is shift my perception to I choose to have enough time. What will happen, trust me, it will happen. It might not happen at the moment, but you'll see it happening. Possibilities about where you get the time will appear to you. But the more we say, I can't, or people say, I have to, or the voice in your head tells you why you can't, the more closed in, I call it a prison, the more perception prison we have. So all these exercises are about getting to know yourself, your self-knowledge. So the only person that you and I can change in the world really is ourselves. The only thing we can actually change is our perception. And it might seem like that's terrible, but that's actually really good news, because you're here. You don't have to go somewhere to do anything. All you have to do is do the practice of shifting your perception. And shifting your perception will eventually get to be a habit. I still walk around the house and I hear myself say, I don't want, whining, I don't want to do that. And then I had to, well, that doesn't work. I choose to want to do that. So it is a practice. You don't become an expert overnight, but you do see the results of it overnight. So what I call this practice is called face and replace. So we're not hiding from our points of view. I'm going to talk about state of mind in a second. We're not hiding from our points of view. We're facing them. And then we're replacing them with what we really want. So as a writer, and I write stories, I make up how I want the world to be. But our life is a story. So you get to rewrite it, which is why writing is so helpful. So if you think of that, your life is, as Shakespeare said, it's all a play, but it's a story. So you have the power and the opportunity to rewrite every story, every single one, even the ones that happened back when you were 2 years old, and replace it with something better. And I'm going to tell you one last little story that might make sense to you, make this more sense. Then I'll cover state of mind and how that works in, even though we haven't done a lot with that. So I used to get married the same way people date. I just didn't bother to date because I had kids and I didn't need to date. So I had a point of view that if I wanted to have someone marry me, they would. I don't know where that point of view came from, but that's ended up happening. So I would date and get married, or date like 2 dates and then get married. And then what would happen is my belief system, it took me a long time to figure this out. My belief system was that people would say, I love you, but I can't be with you. And so that person would leave my life and I'd have to get another one. And one day when I was working on shifting my perception about this thing that I recognized, all of a sudden I went, oh, my point of view is people love me, but they leave me. But that I choose for people to not leave me is what I started choosing. I remembered where it came from. so I didn't go back in my past and look for it. It just popped into my head, and I remembered that when I was 10, my lovely sister was born, and my mom had a nervous breakdown, and she decided that she was jealous of me and my dad, who had a pretty close relationship. So my dad basically did not say it out loud, but this is basically what he said was, I love you, but I can't spend all that time with you anymore. And I knew why, I understood why, but I still carried that into like my life for years until I recognized that perception. And then I shifted it to, I deserve to be loved by people who stay. And that, it took a little while, but it eventually, that point of view and that belief system went away. And just briefly about state of mind. So I've been talking about point of view all along, about how you shift your point of view, but you also have to shift your state of mind to go with it. So if I would have said, I deserve to be perfectly loved, and then stayed in the fear of what that would do, then nothing would have changed. So you have to get your state of mind into the same place as your point of view. And you can do that through multiple ways, like meditation, whatever, anything that you can do that way. And we could go on for another hour about that. But I want you to be sure that there's a part of you, which is why when you're writing all this stuff, take a moment to write down how you feel about what you're writing so that you can recognize your state of mind and your point of view perception at the same time. Okay, so I got you through almost 10 writing prompts, and I want you to really spend some time with it when you get a chance, and do the face and replace. If you do the I choose, I call it an I choose sheet. If you do an I choose sheet about things that are bothering you, it will make a huge difference. When I have written I choose sheets that have gone on for days, pages and days. You don't, by the way, when you're done, burn it or throw it away. This is not something you keep, the I choose sheets. They don't deserve to be kept. So, but I went on for days and days until I finally got to the bottom line of what the perception was. So don't worry about continuing to do I choose sheets for a long time. And if you want to learn more about what I do, you can find me at BecaLewis.com. It's BecaLeWys.com. And then it has all these links that go off to my courses and my classes and my books and things that will help. I have a lot of free things that you can sign up for that will continue talking about shifting perceptions, because no matter what I'm doing, I'm always talking about shifting perceptions. So yeah, thank you. Oh, you're feeling shifted. Yay! And so expect a result. Something will change, I promise you. So all I have to do is figure out how to turn this off, because I don't see my little button here. So if someone knows how to turn it off, I can say goodbye. And yes, thank you. But I totally loved being here with you. It was such a joy. And thank you, Shift Ladies, for having me here. I so appreciate that you're the ones who are taking care of the shift. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.